Αγαπητοί φίλοι και φίλες, καλησπέρα. Καλώς ορίσατε στο φακό του Hellenic TV. Σήμερα φιλοξενούμε τον artist Hamit Ucok. Please correct me, Hamit. Did I pronounce? Ucok. Ucok. I do apologize. Right. Thank you. Hamit Ucok is a Cypriot artist currently living and working in London. He earned his master's degree in painting from the Royal College of Art and a BA degree in fine art from the University of Hertfordshire. Good afternoon, Hamit. It's really, really nice to have you with us today. And the reason I invited you is because of your participation on this lovely, great exhibition, There is an Island, who is taking place at the Cyprus High Commission in London. But before we talk about the pieces that they are participating in the exhibition, I would like to find out a bit more about you, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, it's completely fine. So yes, my name is Hamit Ucok. I was born and raised in Cyprus. I finished my secondary and high school in Cyprus. Then I came back to the UK for my uni degree, like you mentioned. And then I had a gap year where I had the opportunity to do some teaching for the teenagers and kids. I still teach actually privately. Besides that, I'm a full-time artist. I paint for a living. So I do this professionally, and I'm excited to be here.
So, Hamid, what initially sparked your interest in art, and what were some of your earliest inspirations or influences, if you like, that led you to pursue a career as an artist?
I mean, as far back as I can remember, I was always involved in some sort of creative activity, whether it was painting, drawing, or watching cartoons, or building structures from Lego pieces. My dad had a design company, and he's a civil engineer, but he also had lots of architects around him. And I used to go to his office and sort of get very inspired by all the creative things that were happening around me. And I remember him seeing me draw a house on the paint program on his laptop when I was very little, and he was very impressed because it was completely right in terms of perspective. So, and similarly, my primary teacher as well, she was sort of telling my parents, oh, he has some sort of, he's skilled in this area and you should sort of support him. And because my dad was sort of well known in this area, or in this field, he took me to an artist called Pir, an artist originally from Paphos, but he resides in Balabais in the north region now. And I became his apprentice at the age of 8, and I learned everything from him until I completed my GCSEs and my A-levels at the American Academy. So I think I was born for this. I did this my entire life. I'm not good with other things.
Yeah, I think so. You know, hearing your story, I will agree with you 100%. So among the various international exhibitions you have participated, because you have participated in many, can you recall a specific one where you actually felt you are connected, you're blended in? I mean, your work with the rest of the pieces.
I mean, you might think that I'm just saying this because we're here for the High Commission exhibition, but it is actually the High Commission exhibition. I exhibited in many places, including the Saatchi, Cromwell Place, the Royal College of Art, in many prestigious places. But I always sort of felt like an outsider in terms of my themes, because although I was dealing with something quite specific, which was related to Cyprus, I always thought that the paintings had a global influence because of the other global issues and similar things that were occurring and still occurring in the world, actually. And when Anastasia Mina and Michael Martins, the curators of the show, they're a brand now, the Peace team, as I say. When they approached me to include me in this show, I was very, very excited because this was the place that the work needed to be exhibited, because I think, and it seems like it worked because we're here talking about them now. So I'm very excited for this. I felt like I was sort of, the space was my island at the High Commission, and the works communicated with, diversity of the pieces and all of that. So I think There Is an Island is the one I'm going to go.
Yeah, I have to say, Hamit, that I felt your passion about this exhibition with first communication, because you were so prompt, so excited. I could actually feel it through the internet, which I thought, oh, yes, this guy is a real artist, very committed,
Very kind of
So
you.
well done to you. I'm so pleased, which makes my life so much easier, really, So I was very happy. Now, can you tell us about your personal experiences and background growing up in Cyprus, and actually with both parents who are victims of war? Would you say that they have influenced your artwork?
This is going to sound strange, and I'm also looking at my notes here because I don't want to. I want to sort of reflect on many things, and I don't want to forget things. It's going to sound very strange, but I actually became more aware of things when I came to the UK. Because I was born in Cyprus. My dad was always very optimistic in terms of unification, and he sent me to study at the American Academy, and before that at a school called Highgate, which closed down now, I think, an English speaking school. So I can develop my skills, so I can start speaking Greek and have Greek friends and all of that, which was very nice of him and very visionary, I think. But for me, I was always traveling from Kyrenia, Gerenia, as you guys say, every day, changing 2 buses, passing through the buffer zone, going to school with friends, and I was completely oblivious about everything. For me, everything was normal, and I'm putting that in little quotation marks. And I came to the UK, and I was like, things that seem normal are not that normal. I mean, if you think about it, instead, because life here is completely different. Imagine saying good morning to the United Nations soldiers. Imagine walking past the Churchill Hotel every day. Imagine, speaking, and I'm not going to use the word Turkish Cypriot, but speaking in a different language on the other side of the barricade, and then sort of switching to English halfway through, and then switching to Greek right after. So things that seem normal weren't normal at all. And then sort of, and the art education, if it's a good one that you get, it sort of helps you to sort of question yourself and sort of get more involved in self-expression and self-exploration. And I think through that, I started looking more at my family, listening to them, researching about their experiences, their war experiences, their life experiences. And then, like my mother, she escaped from the Islamic State when the war between Iran and Iraq happened. And she came to Cyprus literally like a refugee at the age of 12, and she couldn't speak any Turkish or Greek or English. My dad was born in 1964, and then he experienced the Second War in 1974. Again, my granddad was in the army for 11 years. My grandma was with 3 kids all over the place, trying to make a living from tailoring and all of that. And having all of this burden on your back, I mean, how can you go and paint trees?
Yes, exactly. No, I mean, it's so, how can listening to this, sometimes you don't realize how people, I mean, how can I say, the difficulties that people are going through, because as you said, if you are living in another country, it's completely different. But when you come to reality and you realize, oh, you know what, some people are suffering, because especially your mom, I cannot even imagine, she went through, and she was very brave, to escape, as you said. But a positive thing, just to make it more cheerful, is that you definitely speak 3 languages. Maybe you speak more as well, because earlier on you did say that you also understand Greek, but I think you are not comfortable. Maybe you're shy to speak in Greek, because if you can understand, I'm sure you can speak a little bit as well.
My friends, they all spoke Greek around me, and Greek was a compulsory subject course at the high school. So I can understand when people speak. My granddad knew perfect Greek as well. So I can understand. I can sort of say a few things. Like, I'm really good at speaking about food and all that, like any Cypriot. So I would definitely not starve anywhere when there is,
Yes.
I'm also quite all right with French, I would say. But in terms of like speaking fluently, I think possibly Turkish and English are my main languages, but
Yes.
I'm not very good with Persian, unfortunately. My mum can speak Farsi, but I can't French. I can't speak. So I'm sort of, I'm not so bad with languages.
Yes, no, you're doing it very well. Now, your work often, reflects on the aftermath of war. How do you approach such a sensitive and, I would say, often painful subject in your art?
I think I approach it like an artist.
Mm.
I think that's my answer. I try to be empathetic. I try to be subjective.
Mm.
I do my research and my reading as well. And when I decide on a subject matter or an image or anything to paint, I would sit with it for a while. I will sit with it, and by that I mean, like, I will wait. I would either paint it and leave it, or I would just collect my research material and leave it aside and have some time and digest it. So, and when I feel like it's ready, I just trust the timing of the work, and then I will present it. Like, many people say that I don't post a lot of paintings. It's not because I don't want to post. It's just, it's the process. I work on multiple paintings at the same time, and when the work sort of gets old, as I say, then I know when it's ready to put it out. And by old, I don't mean waiting 10 years, but as in, like, sort of, it's like cooking, as I say. You cook the steak, then you need to leave it to rest for a while before you eat it. So I don't know if that made any sense to you.
Yes. No, you're right. Some dishes you have to, yes.
And being subjective is a very important word here, because I'm not trying to tell stories or the stories of my grandparents or my stories or anything about Cyprus historically, politically, anything. I'm not saying it from one point of view. I'm just putting it out there, and I'm just telling people that there's a problem here, and we have to discuss it. And there is no one grand narrative. So they function in a very postmodern way, which, as in, like, there's a lot of layers of meaning and complexities, like the Cypriot problem, and they're allegorical. And the word allegory is basically when you reach a story, you don't reach a conclusion, but that story sort of leads to different stories, and things carry on, and you find yourself in this zone of metamorphosis, metaphysical side of things. And here, basically, the meaning you want to desire is the meaning you will receive. So I'm not, because this is very important, because I make art. That's my job. I'm not making propaganda. That's not my job.
Exactly.
And I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to make anyone feel sad or anything. And I often ask my Greek friends around me and my Turkish friends, what do you think about this? What is this saying to you? Do you think this is offensive? Do you think this is, what does it tell to you? Because this is important for me as an artist to know. And yeah, and this is sort of I guess this is the process to approaching sensitive topics. And yeah, I think also studying at the American Academy, it enabled me to see and hear everyone's opinion, and hear what everyone thinks, and sort of I think that was really good for me, so I can just put things on scale before sort of painting them.
Yes, yes. And you know, I read in your biography as well that you like to leave the interpretation, the meaning to the viewer's imagination, which I think is really good because everyone perceives things different. You know, like it was so funny when we were I was trying to explain to you something, I can't remember what, about a specific painting, one of yours. And I thought, okay, how can I say which one do I mean? And I gave a description that probably it's nothing to do with what you draw. It's what I saw at that moment when I was looking at the picture, you know. So this is very interesting to you, I think, as well. I mean, what others seeing in your paintings?
I think painting is digesting. It's a constant problem solving, and it's absolutely necessary, especially in the time that we live in, because the media is polluted with so much so much wrong information. And there's so much data everywhere, to the point that no one knows what's right or wrong. Exactly. And I think painting, with its material quality, its relation to history and time, it slows down our perception. And when you see a work of art, you just don't look at a painting the same way you would look at an Instagram image or a Facebook image, because it's a physical thing. Someone sat there spending hours and hours, maybe weeks, maybe months, thinking about every single symbol, every single brush mark before it sort of gets applied on the surface, the story, everything. And I paint from everything. I paint from life, I paint from images, I paint from, you know, the oral histories that I hear from my parents and my family members. But I don't document. I'm not trying to document things. I think I regret, and I paint what I don't want to see. That's my answer, I think.
Yes. Now we have to say a few things about the pieces that are participating in the exhibition. There is an island, and I think the opening is on the 6th of June. Yes, and for how long the exhibition will last? Is it till end of August?
The exhibition started, I believe, and I hope I'm not saying this wrong, but I think it was beginning of February, and it's going to last. It's going to last until the end of August, I think. And the PV is taking place on the 6th of June because, and many people asked this, why it was delayed or why is it late? And it's due to the Design Biennale, so it's aligned with the timing of the Design Biennale, so that's why it's taking place on the 6th of June.
Okay, oh, that's interesting. And this is going to be at the Cyprus High Commission in London. That's where we can see your paintings, you know. So how can you share with us the inspiration behind your work featured in the exhibition, which they are lovely pieces? You know, do you want to talk to us about 3 pieces, I think, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, 3 pieces. Would you like me, is there anyone that you want me to start with? Because they're a little bit different in terms of context.
Is it the post-colonial breeze? Yes. I think it's the lady with the veil, and is this the one, just to make sure? Yeah. Yes. What I was really impressed about it, that you can still see through the eyes, and there is so much paint. I mean, that's what I'm saying, you know. So carry on with the rest.
The post-colonial breeze was, I planned that painting actually a long time ago, and it wasn't tailored for the exhibition at the High Commission. So I didn't paint that for the High Commission. Okay. You might think that it was for the theme, but I was just carrying on with my practice as usual. And it's a very interesting piece in terms of composition and structure, because well, I paint my grandparents a lot because of their stories, and we don't have enough time to talk about everything. But my granddad was living in the same village with his friend who was Greek, and after the war, they ended up in different parts of the island. They went to the army, of course, and one of them passed away in Limassol in a Turkish property, and my granddad passed away in a Greek property in the north side of the island. So this this idea of eternal house concept and theme came into my mind, and I started painting their houses and the objects and things around them, things that don't belong to them. And I was experimenting with my grandmother, and it's really interesting because my grandmother resides in Vasilia, and right next to her house, there is this demolished hotel, a Greek hotel left from war. And it used to be a very famous tourist destination at the time. And I was just sort of, my paintings are like a theater stage. So I was sort of playing around with the concept, moving my grandmother around, and just playing with the objects and all of that. And in that specific scene, something very unique happened, even before I painted it. It's because the color white represents peace. And interesting enough, when I covered her head all the way down to her, her arms, her belly area. Something really weird happened, because what represented peace became a terrifying thing, and she almost became quite scary, and almost ghost-like. And I think it really spoke on a different metaphoric level, because Turkish people, Turkish Cypriots, are ghosts on the island. We are from a self-declared state, although I don't approve it, and we are not seeing, we're not visible. And interesting enough, it also sort of, and in both sides, and we in both the Greek community and the Turkish community, we're very connected with other elderly grandparents, and we say yaya and papu and all that, and so it's like we're very sort of connected with them. And she wasn't cute anymore, she wasn't warm anymore. So I think as the younger generation, it was some sort of reconciliation happening at that moment, where she was in this Greek hotel, and when something symbolically that represented peace covered her head, she turned into a ghost. She turned into a Muslim woman that doesn't exist. And I think the title is very interesting, because everything that happened post-colonial after the British occupation, I think is really interesting to see the state of things, because in that image, you can find elements of a Turkish Cypriot and a Greek Cypriot at the same time, and they clash. And there is something very dark happening. In Latin, we call it la facia hippocratica, something that emerges from the ruin of history. And that was my inspiration and influence for that piece. And interesting enough, again, the work was about Cyprus, but when I finished that work, it was also the time when the war, both in Ukraine and the war in Israel and Palestine, was sort of heating up as well. I think it also spoke on a different level besides Cyprus when I first painted that painting.
Right, and then we have about 6 minutes, the divided heritage.
Yeah, the divided heritage. The divided heritage was part of an experimental series that I started a while ago. So just to simplify things for people, so the stone represents the land, and barbed wire is basically human made. So I was basically trying to question the fact that we are the same society, the same people, and the only thing that was changing was the objects and the symbols, the belief systems, the language, that the things that humans have created and put around ourselves, our bodies, our faces, either to cover. It could be some sort of like a hat. It could be some sort of like a veil, anything. And that one was like a surreal experiment where it spoke about the grandparents will go, all the old people that sort of lived through these experiences will go, and I think what they're going to leave to us as the younger generation is barbed wire and stone.
Excellent. Well done. And finally, the heritage. You know, it's your third piece.
The heritage is also a different one with another sort of object, some sort of like a religious garment around a stone. I left that one actually unfinished on purpose. I didn't want to paint the whole thing because I liked it halfway through, because people can't really say what's going on in there. Actually, these stones are 10 in total. They're part of a very big series, but we decided to go with the heritage number 3 and 5 for the exhibition.
Okay.
So there's 10 of those in my studio.
Right. And finally, Hamit, can we find you in social media? I think you did mention like Instagram, where we can see a few of your paintings.
Yeah. Oh, that would be amazing. So my Instagram handle is Hamit Ucok. So always in English. So it's HAMITUCOK. And yeah, and you should be able to find me there.
Excellent. We're looking forward to attend the exhibition, and whoever is interested, it would be great to attend the opening, which is on the 6th of June at Cyprus High Commission. It was really a great pleasure talking with you, Hamit, and I wish you all the best, and do keep us posted about any new exhibitions or your work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Αγαπητοί φίλοι και φίλες, εμείς θα τα πούμε και πάλι πολύ σύντομα με ένα καινούριο φιλοξενούμενο. Καλό σας βράδυ.